So welcome, Tonicha, to the Q&A. Yes.
Hi, Danny.
Can you just very briefly introduce yourself? Because we will find out a lot more about you through this Q&A, but if you just very briefly introduce yourself, that would be great.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Tonicha. I did the level 3 apprenticeship in applied science for the position of a lab tech in the forensic drugs department for Eurofin's Forensic Services back in 2018. I've been here ever since. So
Yeah, well, you obviously like the place.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So if I could cast your mind back to, well, a long time ago, I think, how did you find out about this apprenticeship opportunity?
Yeah, so it was actually something I stumbled upon, if I'm honest with you. So I did originally, plan to take the traditional route of college and then graduate and go to university and study forensics. But I tried to do 5 A levels in college, and as I'm sure you can imagine, it didn't quite go to plan. I really struggled, and I actually didn't end up with the grades that I needed to get to go to university. So it was in the sort of panic afterwards, I guess, of how do I get into forensics if I can't go to university, that I ended up finding the apprenticeship and do my research from there.
Okay, that's great. So yeah, I think you sort of touch up on that. So what really attracted you to the apprenticeship route then, apart from the fact you were just searching on the internet? Was there anything, if you consider other sort of route?
Yeah, so when I actually found the apprenticeship, I think it was back in 2018, I guess. Apprenticeships weren't really talked about as much as university, so I hadn't actually heard of it that much, to be honest. So I didn't really know a whole lot about it. But there were a few things I was really concerned about for uni anyway, that when I did my research, I realised I think this is, the route that I definitely want to take. So with the university route, I knew that obviously you would incur quite a lot of debt from that. And myself, I don't really have like savings, or I didn't really have like, family that could support me financially down that route. So the debt side really was quite intimidating for me. I was also really worried about kind of standing out afterwards, because I knew that if I'm studying this course with all these other forensic students that are desperate to get into forensics, I don't really know how I'm going to stand out and get employment in the field afterwards. So when I did my research at the time, finding that actually I wouldn't incur debt because it's funded, that I would actually be paid to train and learn everything at the same time. I'd still be working towards a qualification. And then afterwards, having that physical experience working there and having that qualification and no debt as well, that just really appealed to me about the whole situation. I knew that I wouldn't necessarily have the same sort of constraints that I might have done previously with university. So that was kind of the moment where I really thought it almost sounded too good to be true, if I'm honest.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. I think, to be honest, I think your thought process is probably what a lot of people are thinking. Have the same thoughts as well when they're looking at universities versus apprenticeships. So, I think the fact that you can earn while you learn is definitely one big plus point, isn't it? And the other thing is you touch up on that as well. The fact that I think apprenticeships being talked about a lot more now than when you started, isn't it? Those then I think you probably have to search quite hard to find apprenticeship opportunities, and it goes both ways. You as a student, you don't find out a lot about apprenticeships, and it's the same for employers. The employers don't know that science apprenticeship existed, so it's like a chicken and egg, isn't it? That kind of situation. But thankfully, over time, I think a lot has changed. Hopefully, keep changing for the better, so that there are more opportunities, for apprenticeships in general, and especially so in science. Yeah,
definitely. I think there were a few misconceptions about apprentices and apprenticeships back when I started, but since then I've, seen so many, like, such a complete flip in perspective on, the pros that come with it, for sure. Because a lot of the time now we're finding, actually, especially when I mention that I've done an apprenticeship, so many people go, oh, I wish I'd done an apprenticeship now, because especially when they're doing a lot of the theory side and they're studying there at university. I was lucky enough that I was studying the theory for my qualification, and the next day I'm actually getting to practice it physically in person as well. So it was just a perfect scenario, perfect balance of the two, I'd say.
Yeah, no, I think being able to contextualize that learning, being able to see sort of theory in action is really what sticks, isn't it? It's how people learn
Definitely.
best, is, when they see the relevance of what they're learning. Yeah, I guess the other thing about apprenticeship is now even on UCAS there is an apprenticeship sort of route that people can choose. So when they sign up to UCAS, it's not always just about choosing the universities, right? It's about actually apprenticeship opportunities as well, which can only be a good thing. So if we talk about a little bit about your time on the program, then what did your role look like? And then thinking about at the beginning and probably at the end, how has that changed in terms of your job role?
Yeah, so I think again, because it was kind of at this sort of borderline of let's see if this will work, especially in
Mm.
forensics. I think it was kind of unheard of to not have a degree and work in forensics. So right at the start, I guess I was sort of the guinea pig at the time, I started in the admin team. So I was, answering phone calls, answering emails, doing a lot of documentation, that sort of thing. But as I started to build my skill set alongside doing my coursework, I could kind of align it with actually the progression in my role as well. So I
Mm.
was, trying to meet certain modules in my coursework and my actual qualification and training there, that actually, when I spoke to my employer, they could go, okay, well, actually, what you're trying to achieve there about the chromatography, we can get you to do that as one of our technicians. So after about 6 months, based in the admin team, I became a lab tech, and then I moved into one of the analyst roles in our plant room and our purity team. And then towards the end, having started as an administrator, I became one of the qualified scientists. So I was doing my own analytical casework, writing my own reports. And although it was a little bit, we were really concerned that maybe I might struggle as an expert witness. I actually got glowing results, and they were so thrilled with the way that I could kind of handle myself. And you could just see that actually, even with the different route, I was still trained to the same expertise and the same level. So, it was incredible that actually at the end of it, I was a fully qualified scientist.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that journey is quite, it's quite amazing, isn't it? From the
Yeah.
beginning, so till the end. And I'm not saying not all apprenticeships, your experience won't necessarily be the same with for other
Mhm.
people, but at least what your experience is showing is that can happen, right? You're definitely learning on the job, and by by rotating to different sort of areas, you're picking up different skills as well. So for any
Definitely.
employers sort of listening, this could be one option. So if you take on an apprentice, being able to rotate the apprentice in different environment, that can be quite fruitful,
Yeah.
so for the business. But obviously it depends on the business needs at the time as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think how do you think, so being a CSR apprentice, so how do you think CSR has, what role does CSR play in your development on the apprenticeship?
I mean, to be honest with you, and it probably sounds, really over the top, but I really can't stress this enough. And I've said this previously as well. I
Mm.
genuinely don't think I'd be in forensics today if it wasn't for the apprenticeship and the support from CSR. Because even coming in as an apprentice, I came in, this is like my first job. I was really unsure because, I wasn't taking the university route. I really did, you sort of question yourself, or at least I did back in that time as well, to be like, well, what is an apprenticeship? And, this misconception, you kind of automatically had it yourself of, oh, am I going to be getting to the same level? But CSR supported me the whole way through. So not only were they supporting me for my actual coursework side and making sure that I could understand, each module I was taking on, and I was managing to get through it successfully. Even questions about my role in my actual job. If I was, unsure about what to do in certain situations, and oh no, who do I go to for this? What do I do here? Night and day, I could drop, my tutor Simon an email and say, I'm really sorry, I'm confused about this, or I might need some extra help, or who do I go to about this? And they were so supportive with all of it.
Mm.
I really owe my career in forensics to CSR.
No, that's really good to hear. I think, yes, Simon was an all right tutor, wasn't he?
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Great. So yeah, I think yeah, no, yeah, really good to hear that, Tanika. So I think you probably agree with me that apprenticeship is only successful when so you put in the hard work. We as a training provider sort of help you along the way, but also the employers also pay play a really big role. So from your experience, I mean, have you got a really good sort of mentor or managers who was really supportive
Yeah,
in
yeah.
that?
So
Yeah, that's good. So how do you think they helped you in developing your confidence or your abilities? How what role do you think they've played in that?
So I think for this apprenticeship as well, I actually relocated for it because I was like, I'm going to put my all into this. I'll move from the north and I will go to the south as apprenticeship. My line manager at the time also had the understanding that I was an apprentice and that was kind of my first role in employment, and obviously I'm trying to do my studies at the same time, and they were so supportive the whole way through as well. Constantly checking in to say, how are you getting on? You managing to complete your coursework okay? Do you need any extra time here or there?
Mm,
In fact, I think as well, me coming in sort of as a blank canvas as an apprentice, there
mm,
weren't any, bad habits or misunderstandings for them to correct. So they
mm,
could solely focus on what I needed to learn and how they could best meet that. But also, then it benefited them too, because at the same time, I'd be learning and studying about chromatography, for
mm,
example. They could go,
mm,
actually, we use a lot of chromatography in the lab, and it would really help us if you could do that. So
mm,
that sort of cohesive hand in hand experience really helped to develop me as a person,
mm,
but
mm.
also helped benefit the company too.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, it
Yeah.
definitely go both ways, isn't it? So therefore, in your own experience, then, what do you think are the most important aspect, if you're an employer thinking about an apprenticeship program? So what would be your advice be from an ex-apprentice point of view? If you were to, let's say you're trying to plan an apprenticeship for Eurofin, which I hope that's what you're going to do.
Absolutely.
But yes. So what do you think are the most important sort of considerations, when
Mhm.
coming to do this sort of thing?
But I think there's so many benefits for both the apprentice and the employer, to be honest.
Mm,
I think one of the main things to make it successful is to just work cohesively, sort of between the two, because the way that obviously I started as an
mm,
apprentice, I could keep my line manager sort of up to date with, these are the things that I'm going to be trying to achieve. But it also meant that those little sort of stepping stones in progression for my learning were things that I could actually then sort of build on in my career. So having that cohesiveness meant that I actually didn't need any extra time to do my coursework other than what I would do in my own personal time,
mm,
because obviously it was still a lot of hard work, but it's hard
mm,
work that, I was willing to put in. And with that support from both sides, it made it so
mm,
much easier to do that.
mm. Yeah, no, I think, yeah, from an employer point of view, I think it's sort of important to understand that it's difficult for an apprentice like yourself, to
Mm,
have to balance sort of your work and also academic work. So I think being understanding and just to manage that expectation, I think is very important, isn't it? Um,
definitely.
cool. So since completing your apprenticeship, so can you just talk me through what have you done academically? What progressions have you made?
Yeah, so when I graduated in 2018, my kind of plan initially was to maybe develop on that and continue to
Mm,
do the apprenticeship, but as the kind of level 4, level 5, level 6, and trying to build up my sort of qualification there. It took a little bit of a different direction, but I'm still just as happy. So in 2019, I competed with World Skills UK. Is essentially, just to summarize, kind of like an Olympics, but it's industry based. At the time, someone mentioned it to me to say, well, you keep going on about how amazing an apprenticeship is, maybe you should really test yourself and do this competition against uni students. And I did, because I thought, well, but why not? I want to test myself, and I really, fully endorse the apprenticeship and everything it's brought
mm,
me. So I did it. I mean, it was incredible. It, showed me how many skills actually I did pick up from the apprenticeship, because it puts you in situations essentially to try and work out things or try experiments only based on what you know, and how, you kind of learn to apply it. And that's it. They don't give you any extra information. You just learn to kind of develop yourself that way, strategically and logically.
yeah,
So it was
yeah,
incredible. I came fourth in the world, which is obviously amazing as well, because there were so many people that competed from all different backgrounds. So I'd use that to back the apprenticeship too. And then
yeah.
since then, I'm now the actual training manager for the department too. So every new person that comes into the department, I train solely myself. which is obviously again an honour and kind of nice to see from myself being a completely new starter with little experience to helping other new starters with little experience come in.
Yeah, well, that's great. So just going back to the World Skills UK, I think you said, overall you placed fourth in the world. So what place did you come in the UK? I can't
I was so you do kind of first of all compete nationally to try and be best in the nation to build Team UK, if you will. So I did actually place first in the UK. And was I was the UK's chemistry technician, which was obviously again amazing, and I can only owe that to my apprenticeship too, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic achievement. I thought I had to get that in there because I didn't want you to downplay yourself. Although fourth is obviously a tremendous achievement overall, but to come first nationally in the UK, that's incredible, absolutely incredible. So, so I think you touch up on what you've done since then. So, what is your plan then going forward? Because you've developed yourself a lot, over that time. You clearly loved Eurofins, that's why you stayed there for a long time. So, where do you see yourself like going forward?
Yeah, so we're doing a lot of development actually internally in Eurofins, where I'm looking to build up some other sites, thank you, and we're looking to expand those other sites as well. So with that, I mean, a lot of that, obviously, we have to bring on new starters to keep building all of that. And I'm going to be involved in a lot of those projects and training in other sites as well, which is quite nice. That'll be a new thing for me to expand on. But along with that, we have mentioned recently internally that, I think they're looking at wanting to bring in some apprentices again. So it's really good to obviously see that. I think the next scope will be keep building our departments, keep just building generally in Eurofins. I'd like to actually build up to the point where, because I'm currently the training manager, maybe sort of, the next step in maybe some sort of training manager that actually has a team of trainers, which would be really nice. And then we can obviously then scope out and have apprentices at different sites too. So that's the next step.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I think for us, a training provider, I think there's no better, what's the word? There's no better advertisement of apprenticeships than the apprentices we train go on to actually talk about apprenticeships at their current employers and hopefully taking on more apprentices. I think that's probably the best sort of adverts we can, we can say. About apprenticeship. So that's great. So I've just got one final question, actually, Tonicha. That is for anybody listening, not just today, but if it goes out on the socials. So what would be one piece of advice, actually not just one piece, any piece of advice you have for anybody who's thinking of doing an apprenticeship?
Anyone thinking of doing an apprenticeship, do it. It sounds so simple, but the amount of benefits that you get from doing an apprenticeship, you hear about all the different learning types in high school. I think we touched on it, maybe like a survey or a quiz or something like that. The apprenticeship encompasses all of those things. So you don't only develop just your understanding in whatever you're currently training in your role and your qualification, but just all round skills like time management, communication. I have no idea where I would be today if it wasn't for my apprenticeship. It helps both the person and the company. And I think when a person comes in as a blank canvas, like you tend to on an apprenticeship, you can be molded into the ideal sort of, staff member, employee, scientist, whatever the role is you're going into, you're going to be rolled by that industry's experts into what you need to be.
Yeah, that's great. I think just do it. I think that sort of sums it all, really, doesn't it? So, well, thanks very much for your time today, Tonicha. It's just really brilliant, and I hope everybody who's listening has gained something from this really amazing, and as I always said to you before, it's a really inspiring sort of journey you have. I think from the beginning till now, and obviously this is not the end. This is, you're going to go on to great things. So thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.